Hey you guys, welcome back. Thank you for clicking on my video. Before we get started with this one today, I just want to say thank you for the love, the encouragement, the support, and the thoughtful comments that some of you guys have been leaving me in regards to my moving, my mother, the different things I've been going through over the last couple weeks. And I only mentioned a couple there. I don't think I could put all the, if I put on here actually what I've gone through, what I go through in a given week, it's been tough. It has been tough. And in fact, really the last few years have been tough. But when I narrow it down, you know, I'm not one of those people that likes to go on too much about my struggles. I just like to deal with them and put that next foot forward every day. Make the next right move. And really, I try my best to practice gratitude rather than, complaining most of the time. But we all struggle. We've all got struggles out here. It is hard. The world has gotten harder and harder and harder. And it seems like it's getting crazier every day. But, I just want to say thank you for that. This place is important to me. Having a YouTube channel and making these videos, it's something that it's a project for me. It's something I've often talked about, having something just for yourself that no one can take. It's your project. And this is, to me, this is part of my soul. This is my take on things, my perspective on things, where I can get to be creative. I can put the videos together. I can learn new things. And I can communicate with you guys. I can get your feedback and also learn something from you back and forth. And I really appreciate it when some of you guys tell me, hey, I appreciate the video. That helped my day in some way. It gave me a better understanding. That means the world to me. So just want to say thank you so much for your thoughts, comments, and your love. I appreciate it. So anyway, before we get into it, I have also read some of your comments. I will be getting back to the Watts case. It's coming, okay? I've just, like I said in an earlier video, finishing up a move, getting some things out of my hair, getting settled in. And I do have another job. I wish to God I could do this more full time, and it's coming. It's coming to where I can work on my YouTube comment more frequently. But I will be getting back to the Watts case. I have not forgotten it. And next up, yes, the Cindy Watts video, the aspect of Chris Watts' mother and her personality and his childhood and how all of that factors into the case. I will be getting that video up. Also, more DoorDash stuff. I've also read some comments, people mentioning the vape reviews. I will be getting some of that up. Okay, sorry. I had pulled over in a parking lot and someone pulled up on me. I didn't know if they were trying to get through or what was going on. Anyway, so we're going to get back into Will Smith and his wife, Jada. And like I say, I do have the other content coming out for you guys soon, but I want to go ahead and get on this and finish this up, talk about it while it's still fresh on my mind, while it's still fresh on everyone's mind. Because, after this, I've always been a fan of Will Smith, but after the circumstance came up with Chris Rock, once again, I was drawn back in to pay a little more attention to Will Smith and his wife, Jada, and their relationship. I had seen several episodes of the Red Table Talk before on Facebook. I was aware of that before this incident. And I also liked their daughter, Willow. I remember her growing up, but now that she's grown and she's in her 20s and grown into a woman, I've recently, I guess in the last 6-8 months, this was before the Chris Rock incident, I had run upon some of her music and just absolutely fell in love. Oh my God. I think the song is called Lipstick. I forget what it's called, but she's got a couple songs that it really take my breath away. I love Willow's voice. I think that she has found her voice now that she's grown up some. And it's just very unique. And so there's something I just love about their daughter, Willow. Yes, even at my age. I've always been a huge music person, all over the map with that. But anyway, so yeah, let's go ahead and get back into Will and Jada a little bit before, I just want to get that done while it's fresh on everyone's mind. Now, in the last two videos, I talked about a couple of aspects of the situation didn't necessarily have to do with the assault on Chris Rock, but it had more to do with me hearing everyone weighing in on their relationship and me wanting to point out and cover, kind of make everybody aware, bring it to you guys, bring it to your awareness, a couple of really important aspects to think about when it comes to marriage, relationships, partnerships like that. And in regards to, in particular, Will and Jada, we went over the early part of their relationship, how they came together, what was going on when they first came together, and the agreements that they made together. Who Jada was and how she was honest about that from day one, okay? We talked about a lot of that, how she did not really want to, she didn't really believe in the most conventional sense of marriage. And at that time, she, from her own mouth, said, I really didn't want a wedding. And I got a little confused when she said that. She said, I really didn't want a wedding. I just wanted something, the two of us, maybe on a mountaintop. And I began to think, well, wait a minute. Did she really, okay, she wanted to be married to Will, but she just didn't want a big lavish wedding? Was that what she's trying to say? This was in an interview and her mother was present, and this is where it was coming out about how the mother of Jada was in the background sort of putting pressure on the marriage because her daughter was pregnant. And so I did hear her say that. I really didn't want a wedding. I wanted something more intimate, just the two of us, maybe on a mountaintop. So I kind of got a little weird on that. I was like, well, maybe did she really want to be married, but, not have a big lavish to-do? Or, because from what I understand, what's been coming out more and more is that Jada did not want to be married at all. She didn't want to be married in the traditional sense of marriage, and she wanted to have some type of life partnership with Will, but not in the conventional sense of monogamy, being monogamous, and all the rules and boundaries that a traditional marriage would have. That's my understanding, because Will has even talked about it himself. How his wife grew up differently. She was surrounded by, different people in her family in different, more open relationships that weren't necessarily traditional relationships and marriages. And Jada's been that way. And, he talked about that a lot and how he didn't necessarily believe like that or want to be that way, but went along with it because that, out of love for his wife. So anyway, that's what I've gathered from all that. Also, in the earlier videos, we already covered one of the main aspects I wanted to, again, bring into your awareness. Because a lot of people are saying Jada is a narcissist, okay? Now, narcissist is a broad term. I'm going to have to do a video about this one day. When you say narcissist, okay, that is a very generalized statement. It's a very broad term. Because there are a lot of different types of narcissist. There are a lot of different types of narcissism. Narcissism falls on a spectrum. It is inside of every human, okay? We are all narcissistic, all of us, to a degree. But most of us we can keep that under control, and our empathy and compassion and consideration for our fellow humans, that outweighs our narcissism within most of us, okay? But then you have some people who are registering on the scale of narcissism a little high. Some a little higher than that, some a little higher than that, and some off the damn charts where they have no empathy. Not a drop. Nothing. These would be, getting up there with your damn murderers and people like that. So, it just depends on where a person falls on the narcissistic spectrum. I know I have some. I mean, we're born with a primary narcissism. I've been over all this before. Typically, we kind of outgrow that, and we evolve into more emotionally mature, considerate, thoughtful. We can regulate our emotions. We're not just going to lay there and have temper tantrums and have to put ourselves first like a baby. Okay, most of us outgrow that primary narcissism from childhood. But there's a lot of people that don't. Okay, so all I'm saying is when you call someone a narcissist, there's a lot to understand about narcissism. Okay, and these days that word is really getting thrown around like underwear. So we really need to understand what narcissism is. And honestly, it's really hard to call it just by looking at someone for 5 minutes or by judging them based on one action. You would really need to see them to know if they are extremely narcissistic. You would really need to follow them around 24 hours a day for a period of time, okay? At least a week, 2 weeks, a month, some extended period of time to even kind of get an idea of, okay, she just acts that way. Okay, she was just in a mood that day, and she came across that certain way. But then I followed her last night. I was, you'd have to be a fly on the wall, and I watched her interacting with her family. I watched her do this, and this, and, well, she seemed to be very compassionate at that point, and I was watching in secret. Just pretend you were a fly on the wall, and they didn't know you were there, so they had no reason to put on an act. And you could see that behind the scenes, they actually did care. They didn't put others first, themselves first at all times. They weren't constantly throwing out manipulations and twisting people up and doing selfish things, just to pretend you were a fly on the wall, and you actually saw them sitting and having a thoughtful conversation with someone else and listening to that person and giving them empathy and compassion. And, you would and that happens. So we may see something on someone, one incident, that may throw up a red flag that looks like they are a full-blown narcissist, okay? There's different levels. But really, to honestly know that for sure, that just wasn't a bad day they were having, or that's not something else that's going on, and that's not typically their personality, we would really have to follow them around 24/7 for an extended period of time. It's kind of hard to really know that about most narcissists unless you are with them 24/7 and you can see what they're doing in other situations, how they are handling other situations. Now, some of these classic, grandiose narcissists, if they're in the public view a lot and they're doing these terrible things and, for all to see, well, they're going to get that reputation. And yeah, sometimes we can pick up on the fact that probably 9 times out of 10, if they act this way all the time publicly, and we've been seeing it, probably 9 times out of 10, they're that way in private too. And we can kind of, gauge that. But for the most part, it's really hard to judge every single person that we may get a little tingle about that sends up an alarm bell that they might be a narcissist. It's really hard to diagnose that from only seeing a clip here, a video there, an incident there. We would really need to study and study and study and go back in their background and know more about them and then kind of be around them 24/7 and just see, do they act that way in every scenario? Do they treat everyone like this? Does it come and go? What's going on there? So that's kind of the way I feel about that, okay? It's kind of hard to gauge. So we hear the word, this person's a narcissist, okay? It's very popular now. And I'm glad that it's getting the attention it is. I'm glad people are getting more educated on but I don't think a lot of people are doing the actual study. I think a lot of people are misinformed. They're just running with it, what they think it is, instead of actually buckling down and doing the study. Learn psychologically, do the psychological work, do the research, study, read, consult with someone, ask questions, learn. I don't think a lot of people are doing that, and I think that word can be easily confused or misconstrued, okay? But I'm glad that it's coming to the public awareness more and more so that we can prepare for these types of people and we can know how to handle these situations, okay? A lot of people are saying that Jada is a narcissist. Well, 9 times out of 10 she is, because, well, we all are. We all have some narcissism, okay? And I'm not going to sit here and say that she isn't doing things that may be manipulative to Will Smith, hurting his feelings, driving him a certain way. But guys, okay, the main point I want to make is that in relationships, it does take two to tango, okay? Now, this is coming from my own personal experience where I had to take full responsibility for myself in situations where I was continuing to get hurt. I was continuing to accept behaviors that felt disrespectful to me, that felt like it was breaking a boundary, that felt like it just wasn't matching up to what I felt like I deserved. That's all going to depend on your self-esteem, your self-image, what you've got going on in your past. Do you have unresolved wounds or trauma? That's all going to factor in. So one of the main points I would like to make, again, kind of picking up where my last video about this left off, is that we all have a responsibility when it comes to our personal relationships. We are responsible for what we let happen to us. So I just want to balance the perspective is what I want to do, okay? I'm not saying that Jada might not have a messed up attitude. I'm not saying she might be highly narcissistic, okay? We do see some things about her that might indicate that, but we can't, we don't necessarily walk in her shoes 24/7. We're not necessarily a fly on the wall 24/7 to get the other perspectives of her life. There's just so much that can go on behind closed doors that we don't know. But I do think Will Smith has some definite wounds, okay? I think that he has even talked about it himself. He spoke in one interview about having a girlfriend at 15 years old and being cheated on. And that he swore from that time on, it hurt him so bad, that he swore he would never be cheated on ever again. And how he would accomplish that is he would become the best actor in the world. And he was joking about how his mentality was back then versus now. That in his young mind, hurt back then, he thought that if he became the best actor in the world, that he could prevent that kind of pain and betrayal from ever happening to him again, okay? So, going back into Will's past, and we're starting to see it on his body language now, the acting out and sort of what happened with Chris Rock. We're starting to see that Will Smith has some wounds from his past. He has some things going on in his marriage that have maybe been buried too long, undealt with. Maybe he's got some repressed anger there. And definitely some of this stuff is stemming from his past before Jada. The cheating incident that you see, I've often talked about how sometimes one thing in our life can traumatize us and we carry it for life. We carry it into our adult relationships. It may not have been an abusive childhood, but maybe something else. Okay, so we have found out that is one of Will's past traumas. That hurt him really badly, and he swore that would never happen again, and he would become the best actor in the world. Well, he talked about now how that mentality was kind of silly and immature. That's not going to be the way to keep someone from cheating on you or whatever. A lot of times we get attached to these ideas. But I want to make it clear. Okay, no. I do not condone abuse to anyone. I don't condone physical, mental cruelty, emotional abuse, cheating, lying, jerking people around. No, I do not condone any of that, okay? But what I'm saying is both people in a relationship have a responsibility, if some of that is going on, to step up and address how they feel about it and not continue to let it go on. And I've been in those damn shoes where I continued to let myself get hurt. I continued to stay with someone who wasn't right for me. And at that point, I know that pisses some people off, but at that point, we have to stop being a victim. At that point, it's our choice. It's our responsibility. We are continuing to stay with someone who treats us that way, okay? It's our responsibility to stand up and take charge of that. So when the world kind of just starts looking at it from this one view of, oh my God, that person is with a monster and they don't deserve that. And, she's so horrible or he's so horrible. But wait a minute. We also have to think about that other person is responsible too, because they're continuing to stay in it. They are making the choice to stay in that, knowing who that other person is now, hoping they will change or hoping this and that. So we all have a responsibility when it comes to our close personal relationships. And I just want to balance the perspective. I'm not saying Jada is not a narcissist, okay? I'm not with her 24/7. I've seen some of her attitudes. I've seen some of the red flags that would indicate yada, yada, yada. But we need to balance the perspective out. Will Smith is also responsible for his part in this relationship. And if there is high narcissism on Jada's part, and she has been treating him a certain way over the years, then he's responsible as well. I've had to take that upon my own self before in relationships. Take ownership of what I was continuing to let go on. I was actually perpetuating the abuse on me by staying in it and giving them the message that it's okay to treat me that way. You see? So Will Smith does have a responsibility in this. If he's not being treated fairly, he's not being respected or appreciated by his wife, it is time for him to stand up and move on. The children are grown, okay? So let's back up a little bit. Now, we talked about how he was wounded in his past, and a lot of times we get very attached to these wounds. And we carry that into our adult relationships, and we subconsciously, we are more focused on that than we really are loving and respecting the human that we've married or attached to or gotten in a relationship with for who they really are. We're more attached to our subconscious. I was hurt in the past, and I am determined to make you a certain way. You've got to be a certain way because I can't live through what happened to me all over again. And you know something, in psychology, I had a therapist for many, many years because I grew up in a traumatic childhood and yada, yada, yada. And she had to teach me very early on what I was going out and doing. I had an alcoholic father. I grew up in abuse, yada, yada, yada. People will recreate their trauma. That's right. Until they face it. They go to therapy about it. They hash out every detail of it. They work through those traumatic issues until they have worked through that trauma and dealt with all of it and gotten to a certain place about it. People will subconsciously recreate the trauma from the childhood, from the teens, whatever it was that hurt them and damaged them. They will be attracted to partners that will give them that same feeling again and again and again and again. Have any of you ever done that? Sitting around like, damn, how did I attract another alcoholic? That is not what I wanted, but I didn't know. And turns out, oh shit, I mean, I've been through those cycles in my life over and over again. There was a point of years in my life where I couldn't attract anything but alcoholics. I couldn't really be attracted to anyone else. I had a lot of work to do in therapy. It had to do with my alcoholic father and the wound that was put upon me and trying to save my alcoholic father, trying to make him the father he should have been, get the love that I should have gotten. Okay, that's been a lifelong thing for me to battle with and work through. So yes, for those of you that didn't realize that, we will continue attracting the same hurt subconsciously. And we may not even see it on that person up front. Like, dang, I just thought she was a nice girl. I just thought she was cool. I didn't know she was going to do that. Or I just thought he was a cool dude. I didn't know he had these characteristics. It's oftentimes because a lot of us tend to move fast in relationships too, right? We fall for a surface thing and then we don't take time to get to know that person. So I'm just saying, a lot of times we don't even realize up front, and then it starts slowly revealing itself that, damn, this person acts a lot like my father. Damn, this person acts a lot like my mother. holy shit, we start seeing these things, and it's something, I don't know what it is, it attracts itself to us. Because until we are on a certain healed level, until we are on a certain level of consciousness, we cannot even see those that are good for us. If we're still carrying around a wound or a trauma, first damn thing we're going to be attracted to is the toxic people. It's like that. It's a thing, okay? We won't even be able to see what's good for us or what might be best for our frequency until, as long as we are on that unhealed level. And we might be doing good in our life. We might think we're all good. Hey, I got a good job. I go to work every day. I pay my bills. I'm honest. I'm loving. I'm loyal. I go to church. Whatever it is we do. I pray. I meditate. I give to charity. I keep myself clean and nice looking. I go out of my way for people. I show compassion. I'm a good person. Right. But dang, why do I keep attracting someone who's going to do me like this? What? And we're still, but it's because something inside of us, no matter how we look on the outside, no matter how good we're putting one foot in front of the other out here, it's because something in here is still not healed. You haven't dealt with it. There is something buried in there about you that you have not confronted, that you have not healed all the way and pulled it out and worked through it. And you are still attracting that same old pain into your life until you do. This is a fact. I've lived with it for years. You will keep attracting. You will set up that same childhood pain, whether it was bullying or teenage love gone wrong, or your first girlfriend cheated on you, or your parents were abusive to you, or you got neglected. Whatever the wound is, you will keep attracting people into your life subconsciously that do that same thing to you. Abandon you or neglect you or beat on you or whatever went on. These cycles carry on until you do your work. You pull out that trauma, that wound, pull it on up to the surface and really do the healing work on that. Then you're on another level of consciousness and you are going, oh no, I can see the signs now and I am not attracted to that. Or even if someone comes into your life and you don't know it at first, but even a year later, they start exhibiting signs of toxicity or the old toxic plays and all that crap. By that point, you will be healed enough and have enough self-respect, even a year in, to go, whoa. This is not for me. I respect myself more than this, and I'm going to have to let you go. Okay, so that's what that's all about, guys. And I do believe Will Smith is carrying a lot of old wounds from his past. Long before Jada cheated on at 15, it really scarred him and hurt him. Then in his first marriage failed. He ended up getting a divorce. There may be things even further back in the childhood. I don't know. But these are some wounds that, yes, Will Smith is carrying. And I don't know if he's healed them all the way. So naturally, he's going to attract something into his life that she kind of has that opposite frequency of, I'm going to do my thing. I'm not really studying being married. And often we will continue to attract the opposite, but on some spiritual level. Now, here's where it's going to get deep and tricky, okay? And a lot of you may not agree with this perspective. On some spiritual level, it is what we need for certain lessons. It is there to help us overcome ever being attracted to that again. I've learned this from my own personal experience. Like, man, why do I keep attracting a certain type of person? I don't want that in my life. I don't want alcoholism in my life. I know those relationships can't work. But why? Why do I keep, seeing aspects of them that I feel I can work with and I'm compatible with and fall in love with besides the alcoholism and think that this is going to be a different story? Why do I keep attracting that? And I've just recently finally gotten to a point where I will never, ever, ever attract that again. I had so much work to do that I didn't know. And this is 45 years, okay? You may not get the lesson in your first relationship. You may not get the lesson in your first marriage, your second marriage. You may not get you may not get this shit till middle age. It may take several partners for you to get the message and get the healing that you really need. Like, oh, okay. And so, yeah, it's been that long for me where I just recently finally got it in there, and I thought I had it down 10 years ago after so much therapy and whatever, what have you. But no, I still kept attracting many of the same things. So, yeah, I think some of that is going on with Will and Jada. Clearly, there are things from the past that have been unresolved. But I will say this, okay? There's just so many points I want to make about their relationship. I will say that I do think Jada and Will Smith are in a very spiritual partnership. And if this may not be for you, you may not agree with all that, but if you're a spiritual person, then you'll understand that sometimes what's going on in this earthly realm, what society sees, okay, it may not feel good. It may go against everything society says is right. You shouldn't be doing that, and you shouldn't be doing that, and we shouldn't be doing this, and this isn't right, and that isn't right. But these are man-made laws and structures. This is what society tells us is the norm, okay? But when you're a highly spiritual person, sometimes, now this is where psychology and spirituality, science and spirituality kind of start to bang heads. Sometimes, though, the things we attract, again, are for our higher spiritual development. It's because of wounds and issues from our past that need to be brought up. And only the people that are going to trigger those are going to really help us dig that shit up. If someone came into our life and it was all perfect peachy keen, then we wouldn't be able to get that stuff up, okay? Now, in my past experience, this is what's happened to me. So it's how I had to come out of bad situations looking at it. Like, those people played their role in the spiritual aspect of things. So, guys, I'm just trying to give everybody a little bit different perspective and awareness. I'm not saying what's going on with Will and Jada might not be hurtful. Yes, there's some hurtful shit going on between the two of them. I'm not saying Jada might not be narcissistic on some levels and manipulative on some levels and doing him wrong on some levels. But then again, he agreed to a lot of this stuff too. I'm not saying that, okay? But what I am saying is that on a much higher perspective, Will and Jada have other higher agreements with each other. I believe in stuff like that. I really do. Soul contracts and coming here for the purpose of learning spiritual lessons. Okay? I really do. Now, no, I'm not going to get carried away with it. Yes, I have critical thinking skills and I use them. No, I'm not going to get carried away with, oh, everything is flowery. I'm going to excuse all the atrocities of the world and anything you do because it's all for spiritual purpose. Hell no. Of course not. But I do think on a higher spiritual level like that, and I actually think think about it. These fucking people, these people have been together 30 years. You think there's not something there? You think they're not getting something out of this? So I don't really think it's as terrible and sensationalized as everyone's making it out to be. Oh, poor Will. Oh my God, he's just in grave danger, and Jada is such a snake and such a mean monster. Yes, there are some of those elements going on back and forth there. I'm not saying some of that's not happening. But remember, everything is not always as it seems, okay? Especially when we're dealing with Hollywood, okay? But bottom line, if you've been with somebody 30 years, there's something good there, okay? I'm going to say that. It's not poor Will and poor Jada all the way. It's not he's under some spell and she's just got him wrapped around her finger and